All right, so welcome everyone to our Thursday morning Realtor Virtual Coffee. My name's Debbie Morrow, for those of you who I haven't met before. I'm the founder of Real Estate Agent Referral Network and Marketing Tips. Our Facebook group is now almost 265,000 members, and I love the activity in there. You guys are amazing. Uh, Passing referrals back and forth. I see 50 or 100 referrals likely every single day. I mean, it's amazing how many referrals are passed in there. And you guys are also so very helpful with suggestions and you know tips, everything. When someone has a question, you guys are on top of it, responding of how you've handled the situation or what have you. So I love how cooperative and collaborative this group is. It makes me so happy to be a part of it. And I've said this before, I say it always, Thursday is my favorite day of the week because I get to see all of your smiling faces. So we have some regulars here who've been with us since the beginning. Christelle, when we were trying to settle in on what was the right day, Chris suggested Thursdays. So, and there's some other regulars that are here all the time. Monica, who just left her computer, and Trina, I know I saw her come in, and Peggy. So we appreciate all of you. Wendell, I see you. Yep, Wendell, regular. Tiffany, we appreciate all of you regulars who are here all of the time, and again, so supportive. Today, we have such a special treat. I'm so excited to listen to what Peyson has done and what he's doing now. So he made a post in our group about his experience in becoming a realtor and hosting 100 open houses in 100 days. And I was like, what? Who does that? Like, seriously? So I had to know more. So I reached out to him and he agreed to come on here and share with you because he had some great statistics too. So Payson, please unmute yourself and share with us, like, why did you even decide to do that?
So good morning, everyone. I saw a YouTube video, funny enough, and the person had said to do if if you would do 30 open houses in 30 days, you should get one transaction out of it. They had no proof of it. They were just like, well, if you do enough, you should get one transaction out of it. So that's what sparked it initially. And that's just the reason why I did it. There wasn't much more other than that. I started coaching right around the same time as that at this time of the year. And he told me, my coach was telling me not to spend any money on pay-per-click or any type of online leads. So I was trying to find another way to drive a lot of traffic or drive a lot of leads in. And this has ended up how I'm still doing it to this day. You're muted.
I muted myself. There you go. But tell us more. Okay, so you hosted 100 houses in 100 days. First of all, how'd you find 100 houses to do an open house in?
So
Secondly,
we
okay,
I'll jump right. So I try and sit the same house as many times as possible. I don't like to move around to different houses. Reason being, it's much easier for simplicity because I couldn't imagine trying to schedule 100 different houses in 100 days. That just sounds like a nightmare. And then number two, I get to start to meet a lot of neighbors in the neighborhood. And that's where I pulled quite a few listings out of it, is just by literally sitting in the same house for 30 plus days in some cases. So neighbors start to walk in, they start to say hi. They start to ask me why I have my open house signs up for 30 plus days in the same neighborhood. So it's created a lot of extra conversations that I wouldn't usually get.
okay, and in those 900 days, how many different open houses were you at?
I think it was only a total of it was under 10 for sure. I think it was probably around 7 or 8.
Okay, and after 100 days, um, tell us what kind of results you got from that.
So after 100 days, I had 15 closings from the 100 days. So that's why we're still doing the exact same thing to this day. This is my first week where it's been a little slower because I've been starting to travel some. But literally up until this week, we've been doing an open house a day pretty much since I started this in June.
That's pretty amazing. 15 closes in 100 days. Like a lot of realtors don't do 15 closings in a year. I mean, honestly. Um, so tell me like lessons that you've learned. Like if you're going to host an open house, this is really cool to know that you can host an open house every single day. Were those houses occupied? I guess that's a good question.
No, they had to be vacant. Funny enough, in my first like 30 days, I had someone walk in. I ended up listing their home because they liked that I was sitting so many open houses and they live there full time. They wanted me to do the same until about day 3 or day 4. They said they were tired of it and having to leave. So definitely don't sit them for people that live there. Sit them for vacant. After that, that's all we've done. It's just vacant homes, vacant or
Okay,
staged. So, but definitely
gotcha.
not someone living there.
And what else, like what other kind of little jewels did you learn from doing, aside from the fact that you've had some amazing metrics and statistics, what other things did you learn from doing them?
Um, we've got our times down, I would say specifically now. So we like during the week is usually when people ask what we're doing, time wise. We're I'm in the Palm Springs area, so we're mostly a secondary home market, mostly, not entirely. We do have some people or primary residents as well, but mostly secondary. So if they're in a secondary home or what we think would be a secondary home, we're sitting the open houses during the week from 11 to 1. If there's someone that's a primary residence, we're doing them 3 to 5 or 4 to 6, depending on the time and when it gets dark. So that we could catch people after work as they're getting off of work.
Gotcha. And Monica has some great questions that she put in the chat. What do you do in preparation for the open houses? Do you do door knocking, flyers, signs, balloons, mailers?
So we like to set up our open houses the Saturday before the new week. So that way we have them on for at least, so every Saturday we set Monday through Sunday up. So they have to at least be up for 48 hours. We post them on our social media, and on our stories, like I'm sure everyone else does too. And then the biggest thing is we bought big open house A-frame signs. So they're 3 feet by they're 3 feet tall, 2 feet wide. So they really stick out like a sore thumb on on the sidewalk. And that's I would say that's probably like the one of the biggest non-negotiables for me is like if we don't have open house signs, there's in my opinion almost no point sitting the open house because we get so many people directly from those signs, and especially so many people that don't have real estate agents that are looking to get pre-approved but have no idea where to get started. Um, and that's where a lot of our clients are coming from is because they see the open house signs.
Gotcha. And okay, another question that Monica has, what does the conversation look like so that they are thrilled to give you their correct contact info?
I've never had them not give me their correct contact info. So as soon as they're walking into the house, we're pretty much treating the open house conversation like a buyer consultation. Is essentially the way it's going throughout. So they walk in the open house. I'm greeting them at the door. I'm asking them if they found us from the signs or from like Zillow or Realtor.com. So that way I could gauge motivation, see how serious they are. Um, from there, I like to then ask if they're looking for a primary residence or if they're looking for a secondary residence to then gauge where they're going with that. And pretty much I just start to use the house kind of as like trying to figure out what they're ideally looking for. So like I'll say, especially if they came from the signs, because most people will come from the signs for us. I'll say, hey, this is a 3 bedroom house. Is that ideally what you're looking for? Or hey, this has a pool in the backyard and a good an RV parking. Is that ideally what you're looking for? So that way I can try and start to figure out if there's someone that or try and figure out what they're looking for and use that house to either say, hey, this house isn't what you're looking for, but I do know of something that matches exactly that. Or I could obviously nail down and say, hey, this is the house you're looking for, and we could write an offer on it.
Excellent. So, Monica said you're making a friend, so certainly that's a great thing. You're building that rapport with them. Um, do you do these open houses by yourself? Do you have people on your team that do them with you? Do you partner with any other, vendors, whether it's a mortgage, title, you know, anyone else? Do you partner with them, or is this something you're doing all yourself?
No, so I've had my lender do them a couple times with me, and if it's funny on my Instagram, I have a few videos of he pushed me into the pool in one of them, and I pushed him into the pool in one of them. And it got a ton of uh, a ton of attention, it actually really paid off for both of us. But he lives in San Diego, so that's only happened a few times. Usually, I'm just sitting them by myself. I have a team of 10 agents, and they all sit their own as well every day. And everyone sits them usually by themselves.
Wow. So you have 10 agents on your team, and all of you sit
They're
an
doing the same
open
thing.
house every single day.
It's really cool now when you drive throughout town and you see your open house signs throughout, and you're like, wait, who's sitting there? I had no idea that an open house was over that way. But you see our signs just everywhere as we drive throughout town now.
That is absolutely crazy. Okay, what does your follow-up system look like? Okay, they've come to the open house. This is or isn't the right house for them. What do you do next?
So I mean, it ultimately depends on the conversation, but usually like we're either as we're sending them out or as they're leaving the house, we know exactly what they're looking for now, and we've already sent them a link that matches what they're looking for because I have pretty much like pre-go-to links that I save in my Apple Notes, just on my iPhone notes, based on like what I think other types of homes people could be looking for if they walked into this specific open house. So like I'll always have like if it's a 3 bedroom house I'm sitting, I'll always have similar houses that are 4 bedrooms in case people are looking for 4 bedrooms or so on. So I have something instantly to send. And then from there, it's just pouring into making sure I understand their timeline and motivation. And I just pour into if they're looking for a 4 bedroom house that has these specific things. I just keep sending them houses and I will explain why I think that house may work, or I'll just pretty much give them pros and cons based on whatever feedback they gave me inside of the open house. So if I send a link of houses, I will explain each house and why I like it and do not like it for that person specifically. And I'll just keep doing that. Usually though, most of the time when people leave the open house, we're getting them pre-approved and working with them. So we don't have to, it's not as much of like we have to throw them in the CRM and nurture them for months. It's more of like we're already leaving with them working with us.
That's excellent. So, are you having them fill out, a note card, or are you a little bit more tech savvy where you put them directly into, I know you said you don't really have to do a drip system in a CRM, but like as far as their contact information and stuff, what do you do specifically for that?
To get the contact or maintain the contact.
Well, like, are you old school pen and paper, or you have what kind of system do you
We
use for that?
okay. We use Follow Up Boss and Ylopo. So we're using those two together. We when I initially started this, I only had Follow Up Boss. I didn't have Ylopo. We now have Ylopo as well, integrated into that. So people, that's where we'll send them now links to, so we could see where they're searching and be able to help and stay more on top of. Because every time they go on the website, we could see them being on the website, see what they're searching for. Um, and then I don't know if I explained it well enough, but for getting the phone number, it's mostly we're having conversations asking like if they one thing I always like to do is I always like to assume that the person in the open house is buying cash. I just feel like it just makes them feel better about walking into the open house. They don't feel like I'm assuming that they couldn't buy cash. And they'll be like, no, I'm not buying cash. I'd have to get a loan. And then I know right away that they don't have a loan and that I then could ask if they have someone or if they'd like me to send them to someone. So that's one way we'll get a phone number. The other is mostly having off market stuff. We have off market listings because we're sitting so many open houses and then we cold call. And then we have upcoming listings usually that match what they're looking for. So we'll use that to get phone numbers, or we'll just have those prepared links of other homes that are similar to that one, but may just have slight differences too, so that we can pull the phone number.
Gotcha. So Clarence asked a question. You kind of answered it, but because you said off-market listings and stuff. But he asked if you are doing open houses only for your brokerage. Do you like reach out to? No. Okay.
Yeah, so um when I first joined my brokerage out here, they have a big footprint, but for some reason in my area, they didn't have a big footprint. So um, I didn't really have opportunities to sit open houses for people inside of our brokerage. So we just had to start asking people outside of the brokerage. And we'll sit for whoever has, so something that's most important is we sit and like, I'll sit only in a specific area within my market because I know that the buyers that walk in are people that I personally get along with and want to work with. And then I also know that market and area perfectly. So I will only sit houses in that area. It doesn't matter who the agent is, or if it's my own listing, that's where I'm sitting. And I'll just keep asking agents until I get an open house in that area, regardless of how many may say no.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Someone asked if you post the open house times on your directional signs.
No, we don't put them on our signs. They're up for 2 hours, and if people if want to come by, they could come by. Sometimes we'll have people come by last second, like people do. But we don't have anything up besides we just have big arrows on them. That's really what they're for.
Gotcha. And on average, how many people are coming through the home each day?
Lately, or for the past few months, it's only been between 0 and 5 groups. So
Okay.
sometimes we'll literally have 0 groups come through for a few days in a row, but we're averaging about 7 leads a week from it.
Okay. Tanya asked, how long did it take from when you got started to get your first real lead that closed?
Um, it was 60 days total from when we got started. So I had people walk in, they saw the open house signs, they weren't in the market, they just came, stopped by. I ended up calling them for feedback a few days later after they came through. They ended up listing their house with me and buying another house with me. And that's what sold me on continuing to do this was because of that scenario that happened right there.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to get your system like down and honed in so that you know that you get to the house and you do the da, 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 da?
It took probably a good 30 days or so to really get it figured out and honed in. I mean, and some stuff we're still figuring out and adding to this day. But we try and keep them really simple. Like we don't have drinks, we don't have food and stuff because we're sitting so many and we're just trying to make the process simple. Because with us doing this for so long, um, it gets kind of obviously interesting trying to constantly buy all this stuff for an open house. So it's just really simple. We have like an open house sign-in sheet, but we don't ask people to sign in. It just sits there in case someone wants to write their name and phone number down. But it's very simple. We literally have like the property market or the marketing flyer. We'll have the sign-in sheet and my business cards, and that's it inside the open house. Other than that, we just make sure every light's turned on and all the windows are opened up.
Gotcha. So Michelle asks, do you have them fill out a buyer broker agreement? I guess that's for when people come in unrepresented. Do you ask them to do that?
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't do that. And we don't ask them when they come in if they're working with a real estate agent. If they tell us they're working with a real estate agent, we leave them alone. If they don't say anything, we assume that they're not working with an agent.
Gotcha. Okay, so you said that a typical open house will have 0 to 5 parties walk
Mhm.
through, and you're there for 2 hours. So tell everyone, what are you doing for 2 hours if no one's there?
I have my hotspot on and I'm either calling through my leads or I'm cold calling on Mojo Dialer, or I'm working on transactions that we have currently going on. So, but we're always doing something. We pretty much, I mean, it's the same to me. My thought process on it was like, we have new builds going on all over the place and they sit in an office at a house that people walk into all day. Why don't we just do the same thing? So I just do work throughout as I sit there. And then if people come in, great. If people don't come in, that's fine. I'm still doing work anyways and getting stuff done.
Excellent. So Dana asked, the 15 closings that you mentioned from the 100 open houses,
Mhm.
was that just your closings or was
Mhm.
that from the 10 team members that you have combined?
No, that was just me. So when all that happened, I started my team at the exact same time I started doing this, and I started with two brand new agents. So we started with two, we just got to 10. Um, and we're just getting them all transacting now. So, but in the beginning, it was just me.
Gotcha. And do you do any door knocking in preparation for the open house?
We cold call the whole neighborhood to invite them to the open house. It's not really for them coming to the open house. It's really to have a conversation with them and see if what they think of the neighborhood, if they have friends looking in the neighborhood, or maybe to see if they're thinking about selling.
Excellent. Let's see. Teresa said free office space. Daily changes
Exactly.
scenery. Yeah, certainly. Let's see.
Rosa asked, do you have criteria of what makes a good open house? Does it need to be staged or new on the market?
I have one that I would say is the complete opposite of both of those, and it's still brought me a lot of clients. The only thing we do is so like we'll try out a house as long as it's within like my buyer criterion in my specific area that I'm looking, or that I'm looking to be in. As long as it has people walking in, I'm totally fine with sitting there as long as possible. The second it stops giving us people after quite a few days is when I start looking for a new house. I would definitely say if it's priced well, if it's newer on market and it's staged, it's going to have a much better turnout, especially as it starts to sit longer on the market. But most people that come through, I would say at least I feel like 80% of people that are coming through are from my signs usually. So people have no idea coming into it. They don't know what the house is, how long it's been on the market, what the price of it is. They're just coming to see because they saw the signs.
Excellent. Okay. Rita says, what do listing agents typically want in order to allow you to sit their open house, especially if they're not in the same brokerage?
Just daily feedback. So we just at the end of every open house, we give them daily feedback on how it went. And then we give them whatever. So we literally just let them know how everything went. When we call an agent, we'll just say, hey, this is Peyson Robertson with eXp Realty. I'm calling to see if I can sit an open house at 123 Main Street, Monday through Friday from 11 to 1. And then that's it. So we're not asking for anything crazy.
Dominique says an offer. Yeah, certainly that's what everyone wants, right? Let's see here. Oh, what's the conversation around a cash buyer? Can you kind of do a little bit of role play or what you would say to them?
Around a cash buyer, like in the sense of if
Well,
He
you
was
mentioned that you just
saying,
assume that people are going to be cash buyers. Sorry, Rita, it's her question. Let her go ahead and ask.
no, you're in the right track, Debbie. He was saying, I agree with that. Don't assume they're something else other than a cash buyer. But then
Mhm.
I wanted to see how he drew out that.
So once we get well, so it's just so we're asking questions throughout. So we're saying well once I get to like motivation or what their timeline is for it, the next question I just automatically like to ask is, okay, are you guys I assume you guys are purchasing cash. And they'll just say, oh no, there's no way, or sometimes they will say yes. But I'll just pretty much assume and say I'm assuming like, oh, I'm assuming you guys are purchasing cash, and then they'll smile, they'll kind of chuckle, and then they'll say like, oh no, there's no way that we're purchasing cash, we'd have to get a loan, or actually we're approved already, or something along those lines.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Gus asks, what are the toughest objections you get with open house attendees?
Toughest objections, I would say the it's not we're not getting objections. The toughest things is when we get people that just don't want to talk, but we just won't. I've At this point I just don't focus on those people. Like I give it 3 4 times to try and get them to open up. If they don't want to open up, then I just don't worry about it. There's more people that will come through. But we're not, so the thing is, we're not trying to like sell them on anything inside the open house. So there's not like objections. It's just, do they want to buy a house right now or not? And how do we get the phone number? By giving them the most amount of value possible.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely think that um, every good salesperson is a really good um, question asker. Like that's the most important thing about being a good salesperson is asking questions and listening to the answers and tailoring your conversation around, what they've said, certainly. Um, yeah. Best way to get a lead from an open house, impress them with the value you provide. So those are great. How many open houses, excuse me, how many open house signs do you put out daily?
6 to 10. So we're desert landscaping, so I can't use a ton of stake signs. So I have to use a lot of A-frames, and my car doesn't fit a lot of A-frames. It fits 6 A-frames. So I always have a bunch of stake signs sitting in my car that I'll try and use, but most of the time, since it's desert landscaping, it's 6 to 10 signs.
Gotcha. All right. Anybody have any questions that I didn't ask? You didn't put it in the chat. Amber.
Wondering how big of a neighborhood area you're cold calling to tell people about the open house. Is it just like the surrounding blocks, or do you go bigger?
So we have like specific gated communities that we're calling within, because that's what they're usually within. But I mean, usually within like a half-mile radius or so, or less. So like if it's not in a specific neighborhood, we'll just do like a radius and draw a pretty small radius. And we'll try and get through about 100 to 200 people is the goal.
And those are phone calls you make while you're sitting the open house, right? Hey, did you know we're doing this open house? Or
We'll do them during the open house, or we like to do them before too. Like, so like when if we're sitting a new open house for the week, we like to call beforehand a day or so, and give everyone a call and let them know that that's what we'll be doing.
excellent. And Gus, I think he answered your question before you came on. So yes, he's learned to only sit vacant homes. And all right, wonderful. Well, that looks like, oh, Tanya.
So you said that you keep saying that we do this. Do you team up with people? Like you said, you had a couple agents on your team. So do you guys team up and one goes door knocking, one sits at the house, or?
No, I just mean this is the system myself, and then all the agents on my team follow. So
Oh,
we
okay.
just all do the exact same thing. So like we're just literally a spitting image of each other now at this point when it comes to our open houses.
Gotcha. And I don't know if you answered this before, but when you first go to the house the first time, you go and you door knock and you introduce yourself, you guys call the neighborhood, let them know you're doing an open house. What do you think about the neighborhood? Do you door knock too?
We don't door knock.
You
We
don't.
just cold call.
You just go.
So when we started this, it was 115 degrees outside every day. So we didn't want to door knock because we were already pretty gross by the time we set up our signs. So that's why we cold call. And then now, because of everything we've done and what it's built into, I literally, if I don't have the time to go and door knock now. So like we're running from thing to thing, and then I go straight into my open house where I then will call people.
And
So
Gotcha.
it's easiest just to cold call.
okay, and then how many days? I'm not sure if you answered this. I'm sorry if you already did, but you do a house. How many days do you do it before you're like, all right, we haven't really had too much going on. It's time for a new one.
About a week or two.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, really? Okay.
usually I'd say about a week, because the thing is like what I've learned and what I've had quite a few people ask me is like there's never like an actual best day of the week or best time. I've tried different things and I've had really good results sometimes and really bad results other times, and that's why we just sit as consistently as possible, because it's just we just try and get as many people through. But as soon as we start getting people not showing up multiple days in a row, we're usually about a week, I would say, is probably safe. Like, okay, if we're not getting a good response after a week, we're moving to another house.
Teresa asks, how do you get the phone numbers for the neighbors?
Mojo Dialer has a neighborhood search tool. It's a neighborhood prospecting tool, and that's what we use. I think if you get the triple line plus the neighborhood search, it's 190 or 200 a month.
Gotcha. And looks like Tammy just asked the same thing. Ellen, did you have a question?
Was the same question. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha. Um, are the numbers scrubbed? Tammy asked.
Yeah, we always scrub for the do not call list.
Gotcha. Danny?
I just was wondering why Obsidian Group?
Actually, my lender came up with it. I didn't come up with it. So we were trying to come up with a few different names. I had a few different things that I wanted ideally, but they were already taken within, especially within a few hour radius. And I didn't obviously want to copy anyone. And then I really like, all my stuff, like pretty much everything I do is just black and white. So I was like, okay, that fits in with what we're looking for. That was why when my lender told me, I was like, I like the sound of it. I'm thinking of black and white when I think of it. So that's why I did it.
Nice, cool.
Yeah, no cool meaning behind it, essentially.
Do you pick up the signs every day or do you leave them out?
No, we have to pick them up every day. We have HOAs and they would pretty much kill us if we didn't pick them up.
What's a good result from a cold calling session? One solid lead. What's a good result?
We try and get at least one solid lead, like at least one seller that we're preparing to work with, or we'll try and essentially get we may not literally consider it a listing appointment, but we'd like to try and sit down with at least one seller from it, to see how we can help them next.
And from the 100 open houses, I know you mentioned a lot of listings and the one listing that also bought with you, but how many buyers do you get from this, or are you mostly working with listings?
So during the first 100 days, I was mostly buyers. I think 12 out of the 13 transactions were buyers. Or 12 out of the 15 transactions were buyers, three were listings. Now it's kind of 50-50, because we sit so many open houses, people like me to list the home, because they know that we're working hard. I would say, and then one of the things I haven't touched on, but that's been so crucially helpful for us, is we're posting consistently on our social media. Like we're at an open house, we'll flip the camera around to ourselves and start talking to everyone on our story. We do that every single day, and people, everyone in our circle, our sphere, past clients, everyone's following us. And because of that, we've driven a lot more referrals out of it this year than what I've ever driven before. So that's just a good way to show. We've been able to show that we're busy and that we're doing stuff. And because of that, people send stuff our way.
Excellent, 100% true. Okay, so next question is actually not for you. Will asked about where they can exchange referrals. And so, yes, there's a couple of places. First, if you have not already done so, drop your contact information in the chat here, and we can download the chat when we're done. Secondly, on the in our Facebook group, I just uploaded the new referral spreadsheet yesterday. There's a link to where to go to fill it out. It's realtor specific. So you fill out all of your contact information, and then I try to at least every 2 weeks upload the newest version of it. So we get 2 weeks of new people putting all of their contact information in, and then upload the sheet. Steve knows all about that. He's using it to map and plot out where all of the referral agents are. So I love that. So it's actually pinned to the very top of the Facebook group. It's the first post there. So you can go, if you have not already filled it out, you can go add your information to it. If you have filled it out, again, it's I just uploaded the newest version of it yesterday. So, okay, Tanya, one more question, and then we're going to go do a breakout room.
This is actually just, I want to commend you on doing this, because I know how hard it is, especially like when you go out there and you want instant results. And I think that's the problem. a lot of people aren't doing the open houses. They want those instant results and the leads and everything. So just kudos to you for sticking to it and having such amazing results to be able to share this with us, because it's a good reminder for us to keep doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I had no idea that it would turn into what it turned into, but I'm seriously grateful that I did it, because it completely changed my business around from the beginning of the year to where I'm at now.
I 100% agree with her. And like I said, your post was one of those ones that I think anyone who saw the post was like, wait, what? What are you doing? So you can tell when somebody's out there really in it to win it and put the work in. So that's amazing. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording and